Welcome back to True Colors. So yeah, let's go save Ethan and I'm sure nothing wrong will happen in this rescue attempt. Nothing
Pedro,
wrong will happen.
Our brother promised he would be with us forever to the end, and that nothing would change that. He swore, otherwise he would die.
Well,
Alright, but before we get to that, so okay. This you can kind of see this as kind of this game's equivalent of infiltrating the school from the first game, kind of. It's the closest thing they have to a parallel like that, so.
I mean, I guess it's fine.
Or maybe if you want to draw, or maybe them going into the barn and finding out Jefferson's secret room or some shit like that. Maybe.
Maybe it's because this game is just way better than Life is Strange 1, but I guess I don't immediately jump to connections with.
Oh, don't worry, Jova. This is me just spitballing right now. Trust me, the parallels are going to become a lot more apparent later. Trust me.
Oh, don't tell me. Time travel is later found, and there's
no time. I'm talking about the story structure and plot and key plot elements that I cannot say yet because spoilers.
Right now?
Fair enough.
In my experience, freaking out is almost never advisable.
Almost never. I will argue it's never. When is freaking out ever advisable? Like almost never implies that.
If there's a fire.
I mean,
to be fair, in times when you just need to vent.
I guess, but I still argue there are better ways of dealing with that than freaking out.
Come on, let's take a look around.
Pedro, rage rooms exist for a reason.
Well, I get that, but in the middle of a fire, it's probably best to still try to stay calm still. Because otherwise you'll make a stupid mistake that will kill you. So. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying people who can't do that, you know, I'm not saying that's a problem. Obviously, not everybody is capable of that. I'm not even sure I would be able to. It's just that it will probably be the best way.
Of course. You can die.
Go take a look around.
Yeah, the telegraphing is about as bad as in the Danganronpa games. Like you can.
Oh, for shame, you guys! Assuming that just because we are going on a life-threatening venture right after the boy promised he would be with his sister forever, and you assume he has to die. He only has 2 days left to retirement. Get off his back.
In the meantime, Jed Lucan's like, excited to announce we have a new addition to the Black Lantern staff. Happy to have you, Alex. So basically, Jed was on social media. This is, I don't think this social media, oh yeah, it's My Block. It's called My Block. There you go, that's the social media.
Legally distinct.
So this city, despite being a small town in Colorado, has its own social media platform.
Well, okay. I assume that the social media platform is worldwide. There just happen to be people on it in the city.
SMS. Dear Alex, it was very much pleasure meeting you evening. Looking forward to... Thank you, Ducky. That's very sweet, she says.
Sincerely, Reginald McAllister III.
Or Ducky, as his friends call him. One of the neighbors has changed their relationship status. Riley has now changed her relationship status to single, obviously, because Mac is a piece of crap. So.
Well, you know, it's good to see that Riley truly has matured after the incident with her emotions back in Inside Out.
Which is interesting because, like I said, this feels a lot like an Inside Out spinoff.
I'll admit, she does kind of look like what a grown-up version of Riley could have grown into, too.
Well, Riley's blonde, though. I mean, I guess they are dye, yeah. Sure.
I could have sworn Riley had brown hair.
Well, okay, she's not a brunette, at least.
Let me check.
Riley's hair is not black. But whatever, that doesn't. I get hair dye. I get it. Got it.
I guess I mistook it as brown because, like, well, here's what it looks like. But I guess you could argue it's blonde as well.
It's like an in-between. Like, it's in that in-between brown and blonde, if that makes any sense.
To be fair, could have inherited it from
that.
Jed led the whole team back to the surface.
God.
So yeah, this is actually important. Basically, there's a bit of history for this mine. 12 years ago, a lot of miners got trapped in here, and Jed Lucan, aka the barkeeper that we were helping out earlier, he's actually the town hero because 12 years ago, he's the one who saved that mining incident from becoming a disaster. In the meantime, let's read Ethan's comic, because Ethan's comic conveniently has a lot of hints on where he may be.
Did Ethan base his comic on this place?
Kid thinks he's Shovel Knight.
The uniform of the city guard, long dead from the looks of it. I'll have to find another way in. So basically, Ethan tried getting in here, but because the gate is closed, he had to find another way in. So he didn't go through here, supposedly. Not for nothing, Alex, but let me ask you something. How do you know for sure that Ethan meant to write this comic as like is the actual thing he was going to do? For all you know, this has nothing to do with what he actually did, like this night. Like you're just, like. I mean, I'm not saying that you don't have necessarily a good reason to draw a parallel between the comic and what's happening, but at the same time, I mean, I guess to be fair, we don't have any better leads, but at the same
I was
time...
gonna say, like, she's probably just going off of this as their best lead. And from what we've seen of the kid, he does like to consider himself a hero, so him planning out his own story, I guess, is a fair enough conclusion. Again, also because they don't really have any other leads to go off of.
There. The silo. I bet that's the tower. That's where he went.
You're a genius.
Yeah. Great find, Alex. Gabe, you want to take a crack at unlocking that gate?
What are we, some Scooby-Doo gang
should
or
also be able to
something?
get to it
We're
through
even
the
going to
processing
an
building.
abandoned mining area as well.
Let's take a look then. Okay.
Oh,
Ethan
what's
based
wrong?
his comic on
Nothing.
this place.
Just go on. Use L1 to view Ethan's comic
Drawings
book.
with other stuff in the area.
Okay, so... Oh, and look at that. Our first collectible.
I got you. I got you. It's okay. We're okay.
Oh, God. Oh, God, we're alive.
Shouldn't it be thank God we're alive?
Is that everybody? I need a head count.
Okay, so basically, sometimes you'll find some kind of object that has the memory of a specific thing that happened in the past. Don't ask me how that works. And you can read the emotions of a person that touched that object, and basically gives you some backstory. In this case, the rescue that Jed Lucan did 12 years ago, and it's one of those things where it's just like, again, I complain this about Beyond Two Souls, so I'm gonna, for the sake of fairness, I have to complain about it here as well. How does it make any sense for an object to have memories of the past people who touched it? Like.
I guess here it's a different form of logic. The idea that we sense it through the emotions affiliated with that one. Although, I guess to be fair, then in Beyond Two Souls... Well, okay, with Beyond Two Souls, we tended to attribute a lot of it to Aiden does whatever the plot and gameplay need him to. Even if that means he can just read anything off of anything.
It's interesting you say that, Jova, because guess what? Alex's powers will also do things that just because the plot requires them to at some points. But we'll get to that. Go on.
No.
Go on.
I mean, okay. While we haven't gotten to that point yet in this game, the reason it's more egregious to me in Beyond Two Souls so far is because Aiden was legit just the Swiss Army knife power-up. Like, he was legit OP. Whereas, again, so far, Alex's powers here seem to at least have a good enough set of limits overall, and it's not like they're game breakers. Again, so far from what I've seen, anyway.
Indeed.
Alright, let's head on in and hope there's no ghosts haunting the area.
You figured that out from a comic.
Hopefully. Let's see.
Yeah, actually, I don't think we've actually dealt with ghosts yet in the Life is Strange universe, have we?
Some people theorize that the deer from the first game is Rachel, but that's just like, I mean, did you?
That's just a theory.
A game theory, but whatever. Do you need a time, Shira?
Yes.
through here.
Go to 10 minutes and 10 or something along those lines.
Okay.
Just let us know when you're there.
What?
10:10.
All right, and
Okay.
click. There you go.
Okay.
All right, do you need? All right, recap, Shira. We found a helmet, and turns out we can read past emotions of people who touched certain objects. Just like I said in Beyond Two Souls, I have no idea how the hell that even makes any amount of sense, but whatever.
Supernatural stuff.
If I recall
Back to the drawing
correctly,
board.
like in Inside Out, purple is the color for
Wasn't
fear
in
in
the
this
comic.
universe, correct?
Yes, the colors are basically the same as Inside Out, really. Yeah, red for anger, yellow for joy, purple for fear, blue for sadness. It's literally Inside Out. So
I mean, those colors are usually associated with that kind of thing anyway. It's not like it isn't an inside-out, thing.
Sure.
I guess all that's missing is green for disgust.
surprisingly, no, there is no green emotion in this one. I don't think I've talked about this yet, but I want to talk about something regarding the early months of this game being out, because originally, at release, only the PC version had an option for 60 FPS, and the Xbox Series X and PS5 versions didn't have a performance mode. When asked about this, Deck9 said that they wanted to keep it at 30 because to keep their cinematic vision or some shit like that. To which I asked, then how do you explain the ability to run at 60 FPS on the PC version then, you idiots? Eventually, Deck9 realized that nobody was buying their crap, and they patched in performance mode for the PS5 and Xbox Series X.
Let me guess. The real reason was just they didn't program.
They forgot.
60 FPS on the
Like,
consoles in time.
you know, Deck9. If you just admitted that you just forgot, people would just go, "Okay, could you please add it then as a patch then?" And there you go. You didn't have to come up with some kind of stupid nonsense about how you wanted to preserve it, because immediately people threw, "What about the PC version then? We can play 60 FPS on the PC version." And Deck9 basically, relented and just, "Okay, fine, we'll add it in as a patch." Okay, so you were just lying to us. Like, come on, guys.
Like we are well
That's so
past
weird.
especially for Deck9 to do, again, to give Deck9 credit, don't get me wrong, Before the Storm was a piece of crap, but I never got the feeling that Deck9 were, liars, they seemed earnest about it.
I get the feeling the guy on that interview was caught on the spot and he didn't know what to say, so he just made up some random nonsense on the spot.
Yeah.
That would not surprise me. A lot of well-meaning devs just are terrible at giving interviews, or they're bad at thinking up answers to interviews that they did not already have the answers to on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sorry, we're well past the era of 30 FPS being considered more cinematic. Which, yeah, back then it was kind of seen as a reasonable thing. But, like I said, we're well out of that era.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Especially since the obvious thing to do is just, give the game
All right.
settings.
So going back to this game, though, here's the problem with this puzzle. You're supposed to read the comic and figure out where you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to go based on what's written in the comic. Here's the thing, though. There's no need for you to try to use your brain to decipher the puzzle. All you have to do is click X on every single possible thing, and if there's something that is the wrong thing to do, Alex will just say that wasn't in the comic, so you know it's the wrong thing. So basically, you can brute force your way through this puzzle just fine, and it will be over still relatively quick. So unfortunately, the game does not do a good job incentivizing the player to use his brain, because it's very easy to cheese past this puzzle without even...
It's not the...
Go on.
Sorry.
Oh, go on.
It's not the worst thing, but it is a very weird thing. It's not even like you had to make it that hard.
Remember, this game doesn't have any action-related stuff, so the gameplay substance, in theory, should come from the puzzles, right? So they kind of need to get the puzzles on point.
What took you so long?
What are you,
You never
Batman?
forget how
Yeah.
to break a lock. It's like riding a bike.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
Where to next, Alex?
Okay, I get that Alex is the protagonist, but shouldn't Ryan and Gabe also contribute with ideas instead of just being Alex leading them on?
But don't you see, Pedro? Gabe showed off his mad skills by getting
off screen.
Bike lock picking.
Hey, Dwebs, off-screen stuff. Your favorite.
If I were to give it a modicum of credit, that sort of stuff is okay, if only because it just shows, look at how quick he got in. He's just that awesome.
Yeah, it's meant to be a joke, but at the same time, it does kind of make Gabe seem like he's wasting our time, which again is not really something we should be doing right now, which kind of makes this character look a bit bad.
I will agree. That is a good point. Why didn't he just do that for us in the first place?
Like, if this was done in a more neutral situation, that would be fine. But this is a very tense situation where we're trying to save a kid who could potentially die from an explosion thingy. This is not the time to be making jokes, Gabe, and wasting time. So it makes Gabe come across as a guy who can't prioritize, and yeah.
I do wonder if that scene was written before they knew the context it would be put into.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this game is necessarily bad. Despite what you've heard me talk about this series before, it's just that when you actually take an objective look and instead, it's better than Life is Strange 2, and just judge it entirely for what it is. Trust me, there's still a lot of things. And trust me, I'm not just talking about minor issues. Trust me, the bigger issues will come.
If I may provide a comparison, it's like how there was a lot of celebration with Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time came out. And don't get me wrong, Crash Bandicoot 4 has its good qualities, but I do get the feeling that a lot of the praise was due to the fact that, well, the last actual main Crash game, not counting remakes that had come before Crash 4, It's About Time, was Mind Over Mutant. Like, now that the honeymoon phase of Crash 4, It's About Time is sort of come and gone, people are more willing to talk about the flaws that game has, and I do wonder if that may have been a similar case with this game.
Okay, so his fear is Ethan's fear is incredibly strong, which makes sense. And as we've seen before, Alex doesn't react particularly well when someone is overwhelmed with a specific emotion. In this case, fear.
Oh boy!
Because remember, as we've seen, Mac's anger earlier got transferred to Alex, which means that if she goes too close to Ethan, his fear will transfer onto her. Because remember, her power is the power of empathy.
Then they'll just have two people stuck on that side.
Again, I really like this idea. This idea of using the power of empathy in the sense that it's both a gift and a curse. I just wish the game would do more with it, because unfortunately it will not do that much with it.
Wait, really? Seriously?
Well, okay.
It's got such good setup here.
Well, it's got good setup, but let's just say the game... Like, it's just mostly this is for minor things, and there's the occasional major thing, but it's not... Can I put it this way, Jova? It does things with it. I just wish it would have done more, because I feel like it's underutilized still. I feel like there's a lot more potential you could have drawn out of this. That's basically what I'm saying.
I guess I'll wait and see, but I have no idea what you mean by that.
Great. As long as you keep doing that, everything's gonna be fine.
So, I'm guessing if you told Gabe about the powers, he's more understanding about, Alex's situation here.
There's like maybe some slight change in dialogue, but as I'm sure you've guessed, the conclusion will end up being the same with Gabe. So
he does. Okay, he does believe Alex, right? Or does he not believe her?
I think he. That's the thing, Jova. I haven't played this game too much. Because, to be honest, while I find the experience overall okay, it's not something I'm like aching to replay to see alternate outcomes. To be honest with you,
that's fair.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I didn't dislike this game. I find it to be okay. I just think it's just okay. It's not something that I'm like super excited to replay or anything like that. So.
Oh, trust me, I get what you mean. Like, as exciting as it is that for once we have a Life is Strange game that isn't terrible, hokey, or just plain bad, at the end of the day, it is still a Life is Strange game, and it's not doing too much to break the mold of decent.
I mean, I appreciate Deck 9 for managing to really try hard to make something better than everything that came before it. The problem is, it's still not that great when compared to better games of this kind.
I'm not going back without you. You're stuck with me.
So why are we still sending Alex when maybe it might be a better idea to send Gabe across?
Remember, they don't know about her power of empathy, so they don't know that this is dangerous. But basically, the reason they have her do it is because she's the lightest of them all, and it's less risky for the lock to break with her in it, because Ryan and Gabe are heavier than her. So
that is true.
Because not only do they have to get over there, they also have to bring the kid back.
And remember, as you've seen, Gabe is holding a rope and a rock and everything, so even if we do fall, he can pull us back up. So
that just leaves a problem, though. If we're terrified to walk across, then she's probably going to be carrying the kid, so direct contact...
So there you go. This is something that you also see in Disney's Encanto, right? Where she now has to basically do a mini psychological session with him to try to calm him down.
Oh, wow, it's like the anti-version of Chloe from Before the Storm. We actually use our words to help people rather than hurt them into doing what we want.
Fine. It's okay.
Okay. Think of this as like kind of like the equivalent of trying to convince Kate not to jump in the first game, right?
He's got the other end of the rope.
The thing is, one thing that I will give the first game credit, not only did we have to pick our words carefully when talking to Kate, we also had to do some good job befriending her before that point so that she would trust us. So I will give credit that that's actually one of the better moments in the game, despite that one elephant in the room that we've talked about in the commentary, right? That being said, this one, it's not quite as good in my opinion, because unlike the first game, we don't have to choose good words to say to Ethan. Instead, we're just picking things to talk about, as you're going to see in a moment.
That was one thing I'm going to ask. I'm guessing that, whereas in Life is Strange 1, Kate, if I recall correctly, could actually die.
Yeah, she will kill herself if you don't pick your words correctly, yes.
I get the feeling that in this, it's like, no matter what you do, the kid will live.
Yes, basically. In fact, I'm about to demonstrate this. There you go. See, yeah, there you go. Now she's consumed with his fear, so, yeah, there you go.
I wonder, can she absorb emotions off of somebody? Like,
yes.
Take it from them?
We haven't gotten to that part yet, but yes, you got it right, yes. But we'll get to that.
So that's a future power.
I really like Alex's design as well. I think she's like, the character design on Alex is actually really good.
Is nice.
Yeah. Anyway, this is it. We just pick what we talk about. And it doesn't matter what you pick, because you're going to talk about all these things anyway. So you're just going through the motions, really. And that's the big problem. I get that this is a story-driven game. The gameplay is not going to be tremendous. It's not like I'm going to be playing Ghost of Tsushima. I get it. But at the same time, if you're not going to have action in your game, you need to make up for that with interesting puzzles that the player has to get right, otherwise he fails something bad. Again, like in the first Life is Strange 1, I'll give it credit, did that well with Kate. This one, on the other hand, no, you're just picking all these free things. Like, this may as well be a cutscene. There's no reason to get us to individually pick each of the free things, because they're going to talk about it anyway. All that changes is the order, and we succeed at saving Ethan regardless. So there's no real stakes here. I might as well be watching a cutscene here.
And I guess that also brings us to the stance of the fact that, yes, for all the issues the Life is Strange games up to this point have had, and, not counting that elephant in the room, they did have a good sense of variation in the choices here. Like, I bring Ace Attorney up as a frequent example, but Ace Attorney ultimately does go for, like, one set outcome. What helps you flavor the experience is that you do, at frequent points...
See, look at that. Only one choice. Did you see that pop up there? Yes. I only had one choice. Like, I might as well just be watching a movie right now. Like, come on, guys. Can't you at least make it so that I actually have to earn this? Come on.
Like, okay, if they really wanted to do it like this, then they needed to do it like Ace Attorney, where at the very least you're given the illusion of choice in a flavorful enough way that lets you at least text or, like, flavor how you have the character respond. Like, for example, a lot of Ace Attorney protagonists you can have vary from being professionals to absolute sarcastic clowns out on the field based off of dialogue choices or whatnot. This feels very scripted in a sense, and that didn't have to be a bad thing, But it is a noticeable downgrade, which is a shame, unfortunately.
The only reason I'm focusing on this because, like I said, for as bad as it was, the first Life is Strange got the whole Kate suicide thing right, where there was the player actually had to earn his moment where he saves Kate. Like, whereas in here, Ethan always makes it out of this. It doesn't matter if you befriend him, it doesn't matter what you tell him, it doesn't matter what choices you pick, he will always make it out of this fine. So as a result, it just feels like I'm just going through the motions as a player. Like, and remember, Soda Cucumber, who's a Life is Strange YouTuber who reviewed this game, he made an interesting point. Remember, people can just watch the story on YouTube, so you have to make it so that the game, there's actually a genuine incentive for playing the game over just watching it on YouTube.
This does remind me of one of the critiques this game had, and like, well, thankfully, not everyone's an asshole. It does feel like this one goes for a bit of an overly sanitized feeling.
Yeah.
Part of me wonders if the reason they don't want the kid to die is just so that this is not as dreary or as dour as the previous Life is Strange games could get, because, you know, a kid dying would be a pretty big, you know, bummer and all that.
Honestly.
Well, in that case, though, I can get it, you know. You want to go for a different tone than the last Life is Strange games. Like, deep and dour has not been working out for you. That said, I do feel like maybe they went in the opposite direction a little too much, trying to make everything hunky-dory. And
yeah, that's one of the common
again,
complaints Life is Strange fans have with this game, that this game feels like a way too much of an overcorrection for Life is Strange, to the point where this game doesn't feel like it has a spine, basically.
Which does make me wonder if that underlying problem is the reason why they made it that the kid can't die.
See, it's one of those things where the game is more enjoyable than the previous games, but when you actually analyze it deeper, like we're doing right now, you start to notice that it has its own share of issues. So
Let me put it like this. Being the best game of Life is Strange, the series, is like being the best character in Final Fantasy XIII. Yes, within that realm, it feels like an accomplishment, but compare it to aspects outside that realm, and you'll find how much it pales in comparison to the basic standards.
all right, guys. All right, let's be nice and pretend that this upcoming moment is going to be a surprise. Let's be nice and pretend that we didn't see this coming.
All right.
Look at them smiling at each other.
Should be a shame if something bad were to happen right now, wouldn't it?
Oh. Alarm.
Oh yeah, there was supposed to be a big kaboom. Gabe, maybe you might want to get down from there? Like, right now?
Ah, shit.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's how he dies?
That is not how I thought the tree trunk was gonna take him out because of that shot.
All right.
I honestly
Not
thought he was
the.
gonna...
All right. This says. That being said, I want to give it notice one positive thing about this scene, actually. Ryan, for his quick thinking. Now, and this is something that the game will later talk about. Ryan made the right decision there, because if he hadn't cut the rope right there, the three of them would have died instead of just Gabe. So Ryan definitely made the right decision there by saying, it wouldn't have helped to just let the two of them also go along and die with them. So
it does also make the fact that he is a potential love interest potentially interesting, them having to work through the issues that I am sure are going through Alex's mind right now in regards to...
As Alex, you get to choose if you want to forgive him or not. In fact, you will get to it. And that's the end of episode 1.
Well,
okay, some issues aside, I do still feel like the story overall is still good, and yeah, like Pedro said, like, as controversial as it may seem, Ryan did legit make the right decision there. Now, again, ideally, this story will like Pedro said, the story does give you the opportunity to forgive him. Because if it were Life is Strange 1, how much you want to bet? Well, well, we know how it would go with Miss. Everything is everyone else's fault but my own.
Indeed. One thing that I would like to also voice as a complaint is, this is episode 1 out of 5, just like the previous 2 mainline games, right? Before the Storm Now is Sending. And yet it doesn't feel like much has really happened in episode 1 in comparison to previous games. Like, look at, again, for as bad as it was,
We've been introduced to people.
we were introduced to
Okay,
people, but and remember, it feels noticeably shorter than previous Life is Strange episodes, doesn't it? Keep this in mind as we go along. Go on.
My idea is that the reason for that is, like, usually with most Life is Strange games, as early as Chapter 1, we get an idea of what the main overarching plot is, you know. Whereas in this one, if I recall correctly, we haven't gotten a mention of, well, whatever is supposed to be the main murder mystery that Pedro has been hinting at in this one, which one could argue maybe this is something different where they're setting up the town here and there, but I can understand how it doesn't feel like much has gotten to happen. Like, now granted, was there any other side stuff you could have done that you just didn't show, or are
No,
you pretty
not
much
not in
just
this first one.
limited to-
Most of the side stuff comes in episode 2 and 3. Episodes 2 and 3.
Then yeah, I can understand how it would feel weird. Like, granted, this is mainly going off of Life is Strange 1. Life is Strange 2 sort of also did have a bit of an abrupt start. But to give Life is Strange 2 credit, even that got the main arc started with the first chapter, you know, with the brothers being on the run and having to live it out rugged. Again, assuming that the murder mystery is the main plot, we have not seen hide nor hair of that in this first
Oh,
chapter.
trust me, that is true. Yeah, the murder mystery will be the main plot. Anyway, everybody, tune in next time where we start episode 2, Lanterns.
See you then.
See ya.
Yeah.